everyone. Welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio with your host, Deborah Bailey, and I'm really glad you could join me today. And if you're listening to this on Podomatic, you can also go to iTunes to search for Women Entrepreneurs Radio, and you can find the show and subscribe and download the episodes, and of course share them on social media. Also, you can go to womenentrepreneursecrets.com, and there you can find different articles of interest to women entrepreneurs, and also there's links for the show from there too, and also information if you're interested in being a guest. Facebook.com/Women Entrepreneurs is the fan page. You can stop by there and like the page, and if you have a business, if you want to share any info, it's a good place to do it, or if you have any questions or anything, you can stop by there. And my site, DeborahABailey.com, you can stop by there and find out more about me and my books, and there's also links there as well about the show. So different ways for you to get in touch and also to find out more. So I'm going to introduce my guest today, Sandra Fidelis, and the topic is the reasons your business is the world's best kept secret. So I think that's a great topic because a lot of people are wondering how they can get out there and be seen. So I think you're in for a very good show, so just settle in and make sure that you listen to all the great tips that we'll be discussing. So to introduce my guest, Sandra teaches women the exact marketing to fill their client roster with ease, shows them how to charge what they're worth, and how to create a booming business from the ground up without the overwhelm. She strives to always give high-value content, and her talks are energetic, motivating, and fun for audiences. These presentations are designed for women who are either launching or have started an online business. She's an MBA and a broad background of experience, training, and knowledge in marketing and success mindset, which has supported her in facilitating transformation for hundreds of women. So welcome, Sandra. Really glad to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, before we get started on the topic, could you just share how you got started as a business owner?
Yeah. That's quite a long journey, but I started like most of us start, in a job, a corporate job, and came to the realization one day that it just wasn't for me. I was not going to be happy doing, working for someone else for the rest of my life. So I had a little crisis, which I call my quarter life crisis, which led me to leave my job and move from Florida to New York and start a business. And, the first business I started didn't work out. It was at the height of the recession in 2008, and I learned a lot, but it kind of really made me focus on what it is that, what were the values that I wanted, or what were the things that I wanted to experience in my career and in my business, because I knew that I was going to work for myself. And so I sat down and I wrote down all the things that I wanted in a business and, what I wanted to experience. And then a few months later, I was introduced to somebody who introduced me to coaching, and to not just coaching, but the online marketing world, and how you can really work with people all over the world and help people step up, whether it's, personal development or relationships or business. And I was just so enamored by that. I decided to go get certified as a coach and begin my business. And it wasn't, like a straight path to what I'm doing now. I started out in another niche and worked that niche for a few years. I was a relationship coach and just started to talk to people more about their business and helping colleagues build their business and implement strategies, and found that I was actually more inclined to helping people with business than I was at that point with relationships. So that, I coupled the mindset work that I used to do with the relationship coaching with the marketing strategy that I had learned by building my own online business, and created a business that really helps women entrepreneurs get the junk, like the mindset junk, out of the way so that they can implement marketing strategies and so that they can actually stick.
Mhm. Wow. That's an interesting journey.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting journey.
I think that the good part is that people never get to from one point to another using a straight line. You know, they're always taking different turns to get to where they end up being. So it's very interesting. And I don't think I've talked to anybody who just really went from A to B and said, okay, this is how I started and this is where I am. It's always some other way that they've come and different things they've learned and different experiences. And that obviously is just a normal part of it all. So I hope that people listening realize that it's not something to feel bad about if you start out in one thing and then you find your way, probably to where you belong, but you may have to take some other trips before you get there.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. So it's definitely the norm, I think, definitely of the people I have had the opportunity to talk to. So, this actually really ties in very well to the topic, obviously, because, you made the change and you're doing this other coaching. And, of course, you would totally understand how to make sure that your business isn't a secret, once you're starting out into this new direction. So, what are the ways that you think that the new coaches and service providers end up hiding what they're doing?
There's so many ways that they hide, but I find that the top three ways that new coaches hide is that first, they don't really have a focus. You come out of, whether it's your coaching certification or, you just launched a coaching business without, even going to get any training, which, a lot of people do.
Mm-hmm.
And you generally want to help everybody, right? So you become a jack of all trades, master of none.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens is that you don't have a marketing message. You don't have clarity as to who you work with, who your ideal client is, and what you do for that person. And if you don't have that clarity within your own business, and you don't know that for yourself, how are your clients, your ideal clients, supposed to get that you're the one who can solve their problems? Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the ways that I see new coaches make themselves the best kept secret, because you have a specialty, you have a marketable niche, right? But if you're wanting to be just a general coach, you don't want to alienate anybody, and you don't want to get laser focused as to who you help and what you do for them, then you're just going to get lost in the sea of coaches that are out there.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to really get clear on what you do for whom and be able to clearly articulate that.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's true, because I think a lot of people come out training and then they're wanting to help everybody.
Yeah. Right. Because people feel like they want to, get as many clients as possible, or they want to help as many people as possible. And it actually works the opposite way. The more general you are, the less people are going to know what exactly you do, and they're not going to understand that you're the one who can help them solve their issue.
That's true. And I think it's a good point to bring up, because people sometimes don't want to narrow their focus because they're so afraid, if I narrow it down, then I'm going to be limiting all these people who really need me or that I want to help. And they don't see that they're really helping themselves by having a narrow focus, let's say, or a niche, or what's the best way to describe it. But just being general, then they get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it was difficult for me too. I mean, I narrowed my focus to women who are in their first year of business and who are service providers who are really struggling with getting clients and getting traction in their business, and who really need systems to set that up. And for me to say I work with women in their first year of business, that was hard for me to do because I didn't want to alienate everyone else.
Right.
Does that mean that I don't work with people who are a little bit further ahead? No, it doesn't. I will work with, I'll even work with men, but the women that I focus on, that I actually target my marketing towards and that I speak to are women who are brand new to business and brand new to the online world.
Exactly. Yeah, so I could see the point that, saying these are people I work with doesn't block out everyone else, and that's a really great point to make. For those people who aren't sure or not comfortable, to realize that can really help them in the long run. It doesn't really hurt them the way they may think. So, what are some strategies for mass visibility?
Strategies for mass visibility. I would say one strategy is to really look at your marketing, right? If you're not out there, if you're not visible, if you're not making yourself and your business known, then you're not going to get clients, right? And if you don't get clients, you don't have a legitimate business. You may have a hobby, but in order for you to actually have a business and call it a business, you need to be making money, right? So some of the strategies that I like to talk to my clients about is to always really be focused on figuring out where your ideal client is first, right? So you have to first answer the questions I talked about before, which is who is my ideal client and what do they need from me? What are some of their biggest pain points? What do they need my help with? And once you figure that out, then you can start looking for them. Then you can start looking for the places where they hang out so that you can become visible there, right? So that's the first piece, to really figure out who you're looking to serve and where they hang out. Once you know that, once you know where you're going to be hanging out, where you're going to be showing up as the expert, then the next thing is for you to implement multiple marketing strategies. And I think that one of the mistakes that newbies make is that they start and they want to do, online marketing or even implement some live marketing stuff, but they don't do enough of it. You need to really be implementing several marketing strategies at once, right? You need to make yourself viral. You need to be everywhere. So does that include, if you can, invest in Facebook ads, if you're at that level in your business where you're ready to do that, Facebook ads? Does that include, podcasts, speaking on podcasts or online radio and summits? Does that include live speaking and networking? So it's really about finding your sweet spot, finding the marketing strategies that work best for you based on the people that you've identified need your help most, so your ideal clients. So figure out where they're hanging out so that you can go there and show up as the expert. Then once you know where they hang out, then you can start implementing multiple marketing strategies that are going to appeal to your ideal client, and make sure that it's more than just one, that you're actually implementing several marketing strategies. Because I think that, like I said before, that's one of the biggest mistakes I see people do in the beginning, is that they think that only one or two or three marketing strategies will be what they need. But you really need to focus on putting yourself out there as much as possible in as many places as possible.
Right. That's true. Yeah, because at first, especially, you don't really know what's going to work. when you're starting out. You may just find that it's something you didn't even dream of originally. There's a way that you're reaching people that you didn't think was going to work because you're just doing one thing or in one platform or whatever, and you're thinking, oh, I'm not going to do the other things, but you never know how you can reach people. And as you're saying, there's different ways to reach people, not just really one. Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense for people to kind of stretch.
Yeah, and I always tell people, go with, what you really like to do. If you're not really great at the live stuff, which I feel that live, more and more I feel like live is the quickest way to get clients into your practice. It doesn't have to be instantaneous. You can do the online thing and take a little longer to build that know, like, and trust factor. But, there's so many strategies out there. Figure out what works best for you because you're more likely to actually follow through with doing them consistently.
Yes, that's a good point because I can remember when I had done coach training years ago, and people were saying, well, it's best if you go out and you do speaking and things. And then a lot of people didn't really like that idea because they weren't comfortable doing that. So then they're feeling this conflict of doing something they don't really enjoy. They're not comfortable. They're a little nervous. But then people saying, well, this is the way you have to do it. So then, of course, people don't want to do that, and then they end up not doing anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, no, that's a good point, is that you have to figure out what works best for you and your business. The most important thing is, and this leads me to my third point, is that you must market your business consistently. So, excuse me, you have to focus on building your email list or building your Facebook group or whatever, community. Preferably, you're always building an email list because email lists are just still very powerful ways to market. So you have to build your community, though, in whatever way every single day, whether you choose to do that through Facebook ads or through Facebook groups, challenges, contests. Whatever you choose to do that, you must build that community every single day. Okay? And then the client attraction piece. You have to do something where you're attracting clients, bringing clients in, or inviting people to come speak to you every day, right? So it's about consistency. And if you do those two things consistently, there's no way that you won't have a full practice. Right? So that's another way that I see people keep themselves the best kept secret is because they don't, for some reason it's like, I don't want to sell myself.
Yes.
I don't want to offend people, but are you offending people by offering to help them with something that they really actually need? So it's about, consistently putting your services out there and making those offers.
Yes, consistency. That's really the key, isn't it?
Yeah.
For people?
Yes, it is.
That's really it, because I'm sure that people will do a little bit of something, then they think, oh, that didn't work, so then they're on to the next thing, and that didn't work. And then they're all over the place, and then it's just a mess, and just kind of a treadmill of just going, and never seeing anything because you're always jumping from thing to thing, and then the frustration, it's a cycle, unfortunately, that can catch people starting out. And also the other point you made about not wanting to sell, that is really a big one.
Yeah, that's a big one where people have to really get over that. That mindset block around selling. If you have a business, you're going to have to learn to sell your services, right? Otherwise, you don't have a business.
Right.
So,
yeah.
in place, you're going to, you will have to make peace with,
Mhm.
which is, that if I'm a business owner, that means I'm also in sales.
Mm. That's a way to look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not easy for a lot of people because, especially I find coaches and people who are healers, they don't want to sell. They got into this to help people change their lives, and they don't want to be a quote unquote salesperson. But the reality is that unless you have somebody doing the selling for you, then you're going to have to enroll clients, right? And you're going to have to develop those skills.
Right. Yes. I suppose since selling has such a bad connotation, people just assume it's obnoxious and they have to force people to do something and they have to be in their face. So they don't really see it as, well, I'm sharing with everyone about what I can do for them and what I can offer and what my services are. They kind of see it as something really aggressive and then they don't want to do it.
Yeah. And also, I think that most people would be really comfortable offering their services without money, but once the exchange of money comes in, that's when things get, kind of sticky. And then the valuing your services, all of that comes into the picture. And, that's why what I talked about earlier in the call is that, what I've found is that coupling the mindset work before the strategy piece allows you to actually put forth the strategy in a way that makes it stick, right? Because if you don't have the right mindset behind all of the action you're taking, then it's not really going to work for you.
Right. Very true. You really have to lay the foundation first, or the rest of it's not going to come together at all. And then people end up failing and just kind of giving up and walking away. So if they start out the right way, that they have a better chance that they're going to be able to have some success with what they want to do. But how do you move past the fear of visibility? I mean, people have to get out there, but suppose they're really afraid to do that.
Yeah, the fear of visibility. That one is, to be honest with you, there's so many modalities that you can use to get over, fear and anxiety. One of the modalities that I really love is EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, which for those of you who aren't familiar, EFT is sort of like acupuncture for your emotions. And it allows you to identify a place where you're anxious, something that brings up anxiety in you or fear, and it allows you to use certain meridians or energy points in the body to clear that fear out. And so I do work with clients and I use techniques such as EFT to get rid of some of the charge around putting yourself out there and becoming more visible. So I think that, it's really about using all of the tools you have at your disposal to not allow the fear you have about whether or not, people are going to really perceive you as a credible expert, or if you're going to mess up putting something out there and people are going to, look at you as a fraud. All of the things that come up when we're thinking about becoming more visible. I think that really it's just about using the tools that you have available to you to, get rid of the fear before you go out there.
Right. That's a good point. There is a lot that you can use to help you to work with that and overcome it, as opposed to trying to struggle and then feeling defeated because you feel like you don't know how to get past those feelings that you have that may end up kind of working against you. So that is really an excellent point. I've heard a lot about EFT. I've never tried it, but I know it's really a very valuable tool for folks. So, I hope everyone listening really takes that into consideration if that's the problem that you have and you feel like you don't know what to do about it, that there are things you can do. You don't have to stay stuck when you want to move on and really build your business. So Sandra, please share with everyone where they can find you.
If you want to come speak to me in a 30-minute consultation, you can go to sandrafidelis.com/consult. And you can also go to my homepage at sandrafidelis.com and download the Consistent Cash Flow Formula, which is a 4-step system for people who are just starting their business and they want to make, generally people want to start their business and they want to make it consistent, $5,000 or more a month. So this is a blueprint for you to do that. So that is sandrafidelis.com.
Wonderful. That's great because I know especially with the coaches and people just wanting to get started and know what they should do and what steps they should take that make sense. It's really so helpful to know that there's someone out here to guide people because a lot of times, especially coming out of these programs, you're not really taught these business things.
Right. Yeah. The marketing piece is usually not something you learn if you, go and take a coaching certification program. But it really is something that you should invest in because without without learning how to market your business effectively, then it's going to be hard to have a business where you're, consistently bringing in clients and, it's generating revenue consistently.
Yes, definitely. You have to let people know that you're there.
Yeah, exactly. You have to be the one, for sure.
So if you don't, it's going to be kind of hard for you to really get going. So that's the thing I think that will definitely help people who are starting out because they don't know, and sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So,
oh, exactly. I think most of the stuff we don't know.
Right.
Right?
Once you get going, then you realize, oh, okay, I didn't get that. I didn't know how that worked. So I think a lot of times the programs out here don't really talk to the person who just doesn't know how to connect those dots yet. They kind of assume that people know these things, and then there's just a gap in information. So there's definitely a lot to learn. It's not impossible, but it's just that you really have to kind of be open and see what the steps are for you to get to where you are, to where you want to be. So this has really been really informative, I think, and there are just nice basic steps that seem, looking at them, you go, of course you would know how to do this, of course you know how to do that, but when you're just coming out and just starting, it seems really huge, and you're like, oh, how can I really learn these things? And I know some people may feel a little intimidated in terms of getting started. So, if someone was going to say, wow, what's the thing I should really learn first? Should I learn about sales, or should I learn about marketing, or should I try this? Is there any one thing that you think a person could make it their first step?
I would say if somebody's just coming out of the gate and they're starting their business, I would say the first thing you need to really get clarity on is your quote-unquote niche. I mean, I don't like to use that word because a lot of people have negative, that carries a negative connotation with a lot of people, but you really need to get clear on who you serve, what problems you solve for them, and why is that relevant to them? Like, why would they want to invest in you, And once you get clear on that, then that will drive your messaging and your marketing and basically all the things that you need to know for you to speak directly to them and for them to understand that you're the expert for them. So I would say get clear on your ideal client and their pain points. That is the first thing you must do. And that's really the beginning of your marketing strategy.
And that's also a good point that you made about being an expert, because for some people that's kind of scary too.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that the visibility piece, people hiding, that's why. It's because they don't feel like they're the expert yet, or
Mhm.
that their expertise is going to be called into question.
Mhm.
That they're going to mess up and it's going to completely ruin their business and their credibility, and especially in a world of online, where we're basically out there and our business is out there, and we market ourselves that way. I think that a lot of people feel anxiety around that, around um, showing up as the expert and maybe not being able to live up to it.
Yeah, that's a very good point. It's just the sense of saying, okay, I'm going to claim this, but then what does that mean exactly, and how am I going to feel about that? And then the idea, I think you mentioned before about feeling like a fraud.
Yeah.
Yeah, that people start to feel, and it's kind of interesting because people can feel that way even when they have years of experience.
Yeah. Absolutely, they can, and again, I think the mindset piece is something you will always work on,
Mhm.
always be working on. I mean, I love the saying, "New level, new devil." There's always something that is going to be coming up in terms of your mindset that you're going to need to be working through.
Mhm. Mhm. Exactly. I think that's an excellent point too, just to kind of remind people that it's not that you get to a certain point and then poof, all your problems go away and suddenly you know how to do everything perfectly.
Yep.
It's
Hmm.
it's always developing and growing, so it's not anything to feel bad about. It's just part of the whole process that just keeps going on
Yep.
and on as we evolve, as people. So we're quickly at the end of the show. This just kind of flew by. I felt like we just got started. Um, so I know we've covered a lot, but is there any final thoughts you have about this topic?
I would just say that if you don't know how to do something, get help. Excuse me, get help and learn how to do it. Don't
Mhm.
let um, don't let anything hold you back from learning the things you need to learn to implement the strategies you need to implement, or doing the internal work on your building your confidence, and the actual uh, internal part that you need to also align in order for
Mhm.
you to have a thriving business. You can do it. It's just really about figuring out where your weaknesses are, what you need to strengthen, and finding the right person to help you do that.
That's a very good point to wrap up with. Sandra, I'm so glad you could join me because this is really very, very helpful information and very useful. And I'm so glad you could take the time to join me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Deborah.
You're very welcome. So everyone, I know this has been very helpful for you. Please share this on social media. Share it with friends. If you know someone starting out, just let them know to listen in and learn and visit Sandra's website because you don't have to do it alone. So please don't think that you have to be out here struggling. There are ways for you to learn and come up to speed and really get started on what you really want to do. So once again, from Women Entrepreneurs Radio with your host, Deborah Bailey. Really glad you could join me, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.